Wow, so I went away for a day, and I was gonna come back and go right into my Insurrection review, but lo and behold, I came back to my inbox being stuffed with emails about the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm. Clearly you guys want to know what I think about this, but keep in mind that as I go through this, I haven't really had much time to think about all the ins and outs of the deal. But here are my initial thoughts. Honestly, I'm not that worried about it. Actually, I have more to say about the worries of others than I do my own. There is one and only one area in this deal that I'm really concerned about, and it's not the movies. But generally speaking, there are definitely a few areas for concern. Right now, however, I'm hearing a lot of arguments against this acquisition that are downright strange to me. Before I even try to go into the issue of Disney even possibly making Star Wars worse than it already has been for the last decade, let me first tackle the strangest concern I've heard so far, that Disney is going to take Star Wars and turn it into Mickey Mouse. Or more literally, that they will turn it into something that is strictly for little kids and not treat it with the dignity and respect it deserves. First, that already happened. Did you guys just forget about Jar Jar Binks, the Clone Wars, Angry Birds? Star Wars was already being reduced to a kid's toy just so Lucas can make money. Doing that again would just mean that Disney continues to do this, not that they're turning it into this. Second, I really don't see that happening anymore. In fact, as Disney actually starts to dip their toes into the water of this franchise, I think you're going to see a move away from kidifying Star Wars. You'll definitely see more Star Wars-themed merchandise, but I suspect that we won't be seeing the actual Star Wars being dumbed down the way that, frankly, it already has been. Disney may be many things, but I wouldn't say that stupid is one of them. Wrong sometimes, definitely, but not stupid. When Disney acquires companies that consist of whole intellectual properties that they didn't originally own, they never try to tailor it to be something that they already owned. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. Why spend billions of dollars to acquire something that you could easily do yourself? Look at the acquisition of Pixar. This turned out great. The quality of Pixar films since that acquisition has remained pretty consistent, and some would even argue that the quality went up. Although that was mostly because they kept the regime the way it was, and some people might argue that Disney and Pixar had already proven to be a good fit, so, okay, look at Disney's acquisition of Marvel. Did they water Marvel down and make it just for the kids, or did we see more movies coming out that most people considered pretty good? The Avengers was released under the banner of Walt Disney Pictures, and most people would argue that that movie was fucking awesome. I mean, I wouldn't, I thought that movie completely sucked, but the majority ruled that this film was a positive achievement. The point is, I wouldn't leap to the kiddie conclusion just because this bears the name Disney now. Disney does other things. They always have. But they're usually pretty good about knowing what the right time and place for this is. So for the moment, I predict that the only place we're really going to see a strictly kidified Star Wars is with the merchandise integration. And even then, I think it'll be limited. The second argument I've been hearing over and over again, which absolutely dumbfounds me, is that Star Wars is going to be ruined by Disney. Disney has announced that it is definitely making at least 3 more Star Wars films, and people seem to have the same Mickey Mouse-ifying concerns about the films that they do with the property in general. Honestly, modern Star Wars fans, I really don't understand you guys. I love you all, but I don't understand you. You think Disney is going to make Star Wars bad. What you don't seem to realize with that assumption is... Hang on, I'm gonna have to do that thing where I go to the other side of the room and start shouting at people. Star Wars is already bad now! George Lucas already set a new standard for bad in Star Wars for the last decade. The prequels were terrible. All of them. The Clone Wars was terrible. Everything George Lucas did with the franchise, except for the original trilogy, was terrible. And the original trilogy was good despite George Lucas, not because of him. So, as an objective observer, I find the notion that it's even possible for Star Wars to get worse to be laughable. But as a fan in general, not just a critic or an internet personality, just one of you guys, I'm sorry, but I see the people who think that anything good came out of the recent Star Wars outings to be a part of the problem anyway. The truth is that as of right now, Star Wars has absolutely nowhere to go but up. Removing George Lucas from the equation can only be a good thing after the travesty he's turned the franchise into. George Lucas will still have a small hand in the new Star Wars films, but under the title of creative consultant, which loosely translated means nothing. They owe him nothing. They have to listen to nothing. So the worst that'll happen with this is that everything about Star Wars just stays the same and the new films continue to be bad. Just like the prequels were. But my prediction as of right now is that this might actually be good for Star Wars, even if it only makes it just a little bit better. Having someone who isn't George Lucas take the helm in this franchise has always been good for it. And after the poor entries into the series, maybe it's time for a fresh pair of eyes to give this a try. Look at what happened when Gene Roddenberry was kicked upstairs and given the title of creative consultant. A completely different regime of talent took control, and the series was only better for it. All I'm saying is this could be good, but in any case, it can't get worse. The only good things to ever come out of the name Star Wars in the film and television mediums have been the original trilogy. How nice would it be not to have to say that anymore? Wouldn't it be nice just to have one more good Star Wars film? So in these early stages, I remain cautiously optimistic about this, but at the very least, we have absolutely nothing to lose. The only thing that concerns me in this early stage of acquisition and transition is how headlong they seem to be rushing into a new film. This is a legitimate place for concern. The head of Disney specifically stated that their long-term plan is to release a new Star Wars feature film every 2 to 3 years, and he even stated that a new film is in early stage development right now. He also further stated that they are aiming for a release as early as 2015. Now, the time frame there isn't terrible, that isn't completely fast-tracking a project, but there is definitely some interesting wording going on there. This sounds to me like someone is saying, get me a new Star Wars film in the damn theater as fast as you possibly can. Again, definitely some legitimate areas for concern, but only time will tell. But now on to the one aspect in all of this that honestly and truly worries me. See, Disney isn't just getting the movies in this acquisition. They're getting everything. This includes ILM, Skywalker Sound, and the one thing that scares the hell out of me, LucasArts. What does LucasArts do? At least primarily, they make video games. Damn good video games. With a few exceptions. But the focus and direction of those games may shift to what the head of Disney simply sees as the most profitable, and that really does worry me. When asked what he intends to do with the game division, he was quoted as saying that they are likely to focus more on social and mobile than they are on consoles. Why? Money. There is no other reason for this. I mean, you can't really blame him. Social and mobile games are damned profitable, and it's not really clear exactly what he even meant by those ambiguous titles, but to get away from the console market when so much good has been done in them, it just worries me. It also means that Battlefront 3 really will never see the light of day. I could cry. I could go on, but there's a great article about this at oneup.com that I'll just direct you to. They know how to word this a lot better than I do, so check it out. It's a really good read. All I'm saying is, it's a concern, and one that I think is far more realistic and justified than just assuming that Disney is going to turn this into a baby's toy. Which George Lucas already did. So there are my early thoughts and predictions, but I do want to stress to everyone who's panicking right now, all we have at the moment is an acquisition. Disney hasn't actually done anything yet. If we eventually end up hearing news that Luke Skywalker is going to be played by Justin Bieber, or that all the characters are going to be Ewoks in the next movie, that's the time for outrage. But at the moment, we don't really know what's going to happen. All I'm saying is that maybe we should just take a step back and see. And if things go way south, you can bet that I'll be there backing up your outrage 100%. Let's just wait and see. That's all I'm saying. See you guys next time.